The news, it just won't stop, man. It just won't stop. I thought we were done with Iran like 3 weeks ago. We already won, but somehow it keeps going on, and somehow we keep making threats, even though we already won and the regime has changed and we've accomplished everything that we've wanted out of the war. For some reason, it just keeps going on, and we keep getting more threats. So the most recent threat is supposed to expire today at 8 o'clock p.m. As far as I know, it is still there. As far as I know, yeah. And Trump has been, tweeting up a storm about this one. It's been getting real gross, real gross for an American president to be saying the shit that he's saying. But we're gonna go ahead and start with this video. This is, I think, his most recent post about the deadline tonight. So this is Trump threatens a whole civilization will die tonight ahead of Iran deadline. Not genocidal at all. Don't say that. It's not. He swears. Okay, let's go.
The entire 6 weeks of this conflict, we have never heard President Donald Trump use words like this. Ahead of his deadline to escalate the war with Iran, he's appearing to go further than he ever.
We've heard him use words in the same vein as this. This is probably the most blatant that he's been about his, the genocidal tactics that he's using to try to accomplish his military goals. But yeah,
has before. Let's take a look. He says a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. He goes on to say, I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Trump is threatening to destroy all of Iran's power plants and other vital infrastructure unless there is a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's bring in Willie Lowry to talk about this. Willie, this is perhaps the strongest words that we've heard from.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that it's hard to even think about at this point about the concept of war crimes, but these are all war crimes. We shouldn't forget that these are war crimes under the Geneva Convention, even if they, even if that we're kind of living in the post-international law world, the post-Gaza world, right, where, it's just might makes right, and there's not really so much as of a thing as war crimes. They should not be allowed to say things like this, and they should all be prosecuted and thrown in the Hague for this. But because we allowed Israel to do it, this is just the new norm going forward. So
from the president. This is a president, though, who in his time in politics and in business has often used very strong threats to try to get his own way. Is that the play for capitulation here?
David, you can only imagine that it is. I think it is all part of his negotiating tactics. If you go back to the art of the deal, kind of exerting that maximum pressure.
Dude, it's so fucking annoying that people they have to read Art of the Deal to try and understand what what the fuck Donald Trump is thinking. And that was a ghostwritten book anyway or whatever, but it's I don't know, that's kind of hilarious that we have to treat that as some sort of holy reference Bible of what our dear leader is going to do in the face of actual real shit that matters, like war. That's ridiculous.
To the art of the deal, kind of exerting that maximum pressure to get what you want from your adversaries. Now, all of the rhetoric out of the White House, including that post on social media earlier this morning, points to this 8 p.m. deadline as being set in stone. But as we just mentioned, all of that being said, it's clearly an effort, a part of the U.S. administration's negotiating tactics as they look for ways to try and pressure Iran into capitulating. Important to note, though, David, that thus far that has not happened.
Yeah.
And mediators led by Pakistan have yet to be able to bring the two sides close enough.
And most analysts don't think that this will change anything either. It's just if they go for okay, there's two ways you could read it, right? If they go for the energy infrastructure and all that sort of stuff, Iran is just going to retaliate in kind. And, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh will cease to exist as a city. Like they're going to have to evacuate it because they're going to hit the desalination plants and nobody's going to be able to live there for the foreseeable future. So Iran's going to hit a bunch of stuff. They'll probably hit Israel's like refineries and stuff as well. My understanding is that Israel has like 8 to 10 or so like natural gas refineries or storage. I don't really know exactly what it is, but if those got taken out, then like Israel would be left without power as well. So, there's things that are probably going to happen in that situation. In like retaliation, and obviously there will be significant suffering for the Iranian people. We should never forget that. But the war crimes that we do and the civilians that we target, like targeting civilian infrastructure does not in any way lead to strategic outcomes in war. Iran is doing it, I think, solely as a like, you're going to do this, then we're going to do this, like just trying to follow America up the escalation, ladder or whatever. But I don't think they think that like actually hitting civilian infrastructure is going to necessarily lead to strategic outcomes for them. They care more about hitting the actual, military sites and military bases and, attriting America's stockpiles until they run out so that they can hit those sites and like stuff even more. And like keeping the Israelis going in and out of bomb shelters 24/7, 365 days a year. Like, I think that those are their like where they see they will have strategic success. America and Israel really get lost in the sauce where they just think that the more civilians we kill, the more strategic victory we'll have. But it didn't work for Israel in Gaza. It didn't work for Israel in Lebanon. If you can't actually take out the military like members and the military infrastructure that they have, like for instance in Hamas's case it's the tunnels, and obviously the organization itself, which has more members than it ever has in its entire history, then you're not going to be able to strategically defeat them. Same with Hezbollah or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it sucks that the civilians of Iran are going to have to suffer through a lot of this if he does actually go through with it and doesn't taco. But it unfortunately, there is like the silver lining is that I don't think it will succeed in doing what they want.
Together,
which is like complete and total capitulation, which is a ridiculous thing for an emerging world to ask of an emerging world power like Iran. Like Iran has so many cards and is in such a good position right now. Like why would they ever take that?
A ceasefire is feasible, but Trump does say that any deal would likely require Iran to allow the safe passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Let's take a brief listen to the president speaking to reporters yesterday.
We have to have a deal that's acceptable to me. And part of that deal is going to be we want free traffic of oil and everything else.
Why would they agree to that, though?
Has repeatedly threatened to target civilians.
I keep asking, what are you going to do about it? Like, what are you going to do about it? You weren't able to open it up yet. Targeting civilian infrastructure isn't going to change anything about that. The only thing you could possibly do is do a full ground occupation. And I don't think you're going to do that. So, I mean, maybe they'll do a full Iraq-style occupation for decades, but I don't think we have the political will here in America. So I really just don't think that that's going to happen. No matter what they do, like that's not going to happen as far as I can tell.
Civilian infrastructure and send Iran back to the Stone Ages. Again, what we're trying to figure out right now is this simply rhetoric and negotiation tactics, or is this something that he is willing to actually do?
And Willie, the president.
So I'm kind of hoping that he tacos on this. Or, I mean, obviously I'm hoping that he tacos. Like Trump always chickens out or whatever. The reason that I think there's a possibility that he does punt it down the road again, like he has, the 5 previous times that he said that he's going to do this, is because once you do that, then it's no longer a like months long impact to energy prices, like particularly in America and around the world. It then becomes a years long impact, a global, like, it would probably send basically it would almost guarantee a global depression at that point, if he did decide to do it. So because of Iran's like response. So that's why I'm kind of thinking he'll chicken out, but honestly, I don't really know. He might go for it. I also was a little surprised with like the timing, because usually he always waits till a Friday. That's why I always say pray to the markets every Friday, that the markets will prevent us from getting further embedded in this war over the weekend, like while the markets are closed. But so that's another thing that would surprise me, is that he would choose to do it on a Tuesday in the middle of the week when markets are open. So yeah, I don't know. That's what, like, I'd say I'm like, not very much. Like, I'd say I'm like 60-40 that he'll let this deadline pass and this won't happen. But there's definitely a real possibility that he does, though.
Has been quite explicit about what he would target tonight if capitulation on the Strait doesn't occur. He's talked about power plants. He's talked about bridges. There are arguments those would be civilian infrastructure, and questions about whether that would constitute a war crime.
Okay. No, they objectively are. People, you need to, if you're going to report, you need to say objective reality, or else no one is going to believe you. That's why these people lose all of their credibility, is because as soon as someone says, oh, it's not actually civilian infrastructure, like the president says, like the people who are trying to do the war crime say it's actually not a war crime, then these people feel obligated to pretend like they should take that seriously. And that's exactly why they lose all of their credibility in the media. They need to be able to say, like, if you're going to do this, be like, and the people who obviously want, the Trump administration, which obviously wants to commit all these war crimes, has told us that actually it's not civilian infrastructure. Like, then you're being objective, because like you're stating exactly why, like, their biases and why you shouldn't believe their biases. But that's silly. That's silly.
Yeah, absolutely, David. This is a major component of the discourse here in Washington this morning. Democrats have been very vocal about their concerns. Targeting civilian infrastructure can be a violation of international law, which prohibits the specific targeting of civilian energy infrastructure in particular for the purpose of forcing an adversary to negotiate. Now, Trump has brushed aside any concerns that he may be committing war crimes if he follows through with these threats. Let's take a brief listen to quite a remarkable exchange he had with a New York Times reporter yesterday in the White House.
Are you concerned that your threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to war crimes?
No, not at all. No, I'm not. I hope I don't have to do it. But again, I just said 47 years they've been negotiating with these people. They're great negotiators, and because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Now, some in the military establishment believe that these targets are fair game because they are dual use, meaning the military.
Oh, God. Dual use shit again. We heard this all in Gaza, man. It's just blatant. They shouldn't even take, like, this is why I'm saying the media loses all of their credibility, and why people come and tune into more objective people like me, because I don't have to go and pretend like the things that the people who want to do war crimes are, like, that they say, oh, it's actually not a war crime. I don't have to go out there and pretend like what they're saying is like valid in any way. These people, they feel like they have to do that. And that's why, like, they don't have any fucking credibility. You gotta stop. If you want people to watch straight, like, real news, then you gotta stop doing this shit.
He also uses and relies on them. Let's take a brief listen to retired U.S. Admiral Andy Loisel.
People will call some of these targets civilian targets, but they're in effect dual-use targets. Obviously, they benefit civilians, but they also provide the power to run any of the military systems that they have remaining left to them.
That's not what... There's no such thing as dual use targets. Everything is dual use. Everything can be used for anything. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I don't know. If it is used to power civilian infrastructure at all for any reason, no matter whether it's used for other military means or not, then yes, it is a piece of civilian infrastructure and cannot be targeted under international law. I'm sorry. That is just the facts. But here, go ahead and tell me why you can just pretend and make up why that's not true whenever you feel like it because you're America. Like, go ahead.
And then any of those bridges are also military supply routes as well. So I would refer to them as dual use targets.
Now, David,
yeah, just like the tents that they were trying to get into Gaza to house people, those were dual use according to Israelis. Yeah. Okay, sure.
the chances of the international
They found the
Criminal
propaganda.
Court potentially
They found the propaganda words that worked, I guess, and now they're just gonna, shovel them all down our fucking throats like they did in Gaza. Yeah.
pursuing charges
Love it.
against the Trump administration, if it carries through with these threats, are next to zero. The U.S. is not a member of the court and has long had a very, very complicated relationship with it.
Willie Lowry, thank you very much. Now, one key area under attack this morning is Iran's Karg Island, where 90% of Iran's oil exports occur. This is also an area Donald Trump has threatened to invade with ground troops. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance confirming the airstrikes, but also downplaying them.
Okay, I've got a whole other video for the Karg Island stuff, so I'm just gonna pause it here and end this video. I wasn't expecting the media framing on this stuff to be so shit, to be honest. I don't watch, I guess, CBC News that often. So Radio Canada, it says it's Canadian. So I kind of expected it to be a little bit better than it was. But yeah, I don't know. This whole, like I said, I'm like 60-40 if he's going to do it. I'll be raiding during that time period. So I won't be able to, I won't be able to stream whatever's happening. So, but I'll catch up with it tomorrow if anything actually does happen.